Hello everybody, today I'm going to teach you how to take a photo like this and turn it into this. So the first thing that you're going to have to understand is that there are two phases to this. There is color correcting and there is color grading. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to hop over to our basic tab and start adjusting the exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. A little trick here that I like to do is if you up the shadows and then crush the blacks a bit, it gives you a little bit more dynamic range. Another thing that I also like to do is to lower the clarity on a picture like this to soften the model's features, because if you have it higher or normal, her face is going to look kind of rough and we don't want that. So now we are entering two of the most important crucial things, that is the tone curve and the Hsl panel. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plot 3 points onto the tone curve. So these 3 points represent your shadows, midtones, and highlights. So since we're going for a vintage indie hipster kind of look, what we're going to do is we're going to take the very bottom and we're going to shift it up. And what this is your blacks, and it's going to take the blacks and it's going to turn them gray. So you won't have any absolute blacks in the photo. It's going to look washed out, gray, vintage. That's the kind of look we're going for. The next thing that you're going to do is crush the blacks a bit to kind of create that wallowy depth kind of feel. Now the next thing is your midtones, and your midtones are basically your skin tones. So just look at your subject's face and say like, hey, maybe this needs to be boosted a bit. And then your highlights are going to be pretty much the sun. Whatever the sun is hitting is going to be your highlights. So in this case, it's the halo around her head. So the tone curve is so important, as you can tell by, so I'm going to click it on and off and you can see how important the tone curve is. It's amazing. Like, wow, the tone curve is everything. So get used to the tone curve and start messing around with it, because it can be super, super helpful. So the next thing that we're going to enter is going to be the Hsl curve. Now the Hsl curve is as handy as the tone curve. So what this is going to do is essentially adjust all of your colors how you want them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the two main colors, which is that orangish yellow and that blue, and we're going to adjust from there, since those are where the eye is drawn to the most. See, the blue is kind of too vibrant and distracting for me, so I'm going to lower the saturation down a bit on it, and I'm just going to drag so I'm going to click on this guy and then pick him over, and then it acts as a color picker. And then if I drag it down, then it's going to desaturate it, and if I drag it up, it's going to saturate it more. So let's saturate these down, and then I'm going to take her shirt and then just play around with it. So essentially what I do here is I just kind of play around just until personally I think that it looks good. And another thing that I'll do is I'll take the greens, so I'll select like a leaf here, and then I'll make it like orangish yellow. So I'll take the greens and then I'll make them yellow, which is kind of another like key building block. So the next thing that we're gonna do is hop into the split toning. Now this one isn't super important, but it does add that little finishing touch. So a common trend is to make the highlights orange and the shadows teal. Get that orange and teal look. I know you've probably heard of that before. But in this case, since this is a vintage looking photo, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the shadows and make them orange, and the highlights and make them blue or teal. And then we're just gonna adjust those till we like it. And as you can see, it kind of just makes the picture a little bit more orangish and washed out. Now moving on to lens correction. Now typically if you're gonna go for like a vintage look, you don't want to correct the vignette that it's gonna leave. So I'm just gonna leave it on this blank. As you can see, it leaves like a nice vignette around it, and I'm okay with that. So another thing that you can do that's gonna add another element of a vintage photo is you can boost the grain. This is very important if you want to achieve that like grainy texturized look. For this photo, I'm not going to use it because I don't want to make her face look rougher than it has to be. So I'm just going to leave it blank here. But normally I would use about 20 on the grain amount. And then zooming in on her face, she's got a little lipstick on her teeth. So I'm just going to take the healing tool and fix that really quick. So yeah, this is the before and after. It's a super easy process as long as you're shooting to edit. So make sure that your shots are consistent with how you want to edit them. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe, comment on this video. If you guys have any suggestions for anything for me to do in the future with photography, let me know. Thanks, guys.